Hey, how's it going? Welcome to Outdoor Adventures with Kays. Today we're going to talk about surf casting and how you can catch that next big fish.
Outdoor Adventures with Kays. If you ain't liked, subscribed, and shared this by now, you're weird. You're a weirdo.
So in this video, we're going to break it down into 3 parts. We're going to talk about what you're going to need. We're going to talk about planning your trip. And we're also going to talk about how you can approach the beach once you finally get there.
Yeah, buddy. We're out here on the east coast. We've got a northwesterly wind today. Chucked out a whole squid and thought, hey, while I'm getting the gear ready, we'll chuck out a big bait and see what happens. And within about 10 minutes, the rod's bent over and we're on to something. Now, we're out here using the Black Magic long reach casting rigs. And I tell you what, if this ain't telling you that these rigs work, I don't know what's going to convince you.
Choice.
Shouldn't be too far away.
Yeah, buddy. Woo!
So that's how it's done.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful.
Got a reasonable snapper here for the bin. This one's coming home.
Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo.
10 minutes fishing and already the whānau are going to get fed tonight.
Oh,
Awesome.
awesome.
Okay, so planning your trip. Now, the first thing you're going to want to understand real good is the weather conditions. So 3 things you're going to want to check when you're getting an understanding of what the weather is doing is the wind strength, the wind direction, and the swell. Now, all of these things are going to add up to you having the winning recipe when it comes to getting out there and doing a bit of surf casting. Then the rest, you'll start to fine tune as you get further into your surf casting journey. Now, the first thing that I like to make sure I understand is the wind. And I'm talking about wind strength and also the direction that the wind is going in. Now, that is hugely important. Last thing you want to be doing when you get to a beach is casting out and everything is blowing back in towards you. Now, the strength of the wind is going to mean that you have a little bit more comfort while you're out there, but also that, again, you're going to be able to get the baits out in front of you and they're not going to be getting blown too far to the right or to the left of you. Some days you're just going to want to get out there and that's cool. But if you're wanting to plan the trip to get the best and the most out of your day, then I definitely suggest checking your wind and your weather. Now, just remember the last thing that you want is to get out to the beach and realize you're not going to be able to fish the way that you wanted to. So check your weather, get a good understanding, and then plan that trip. Just another tip, when you are getting your plans set for a fishing trip, especially surf casting, set a target species. So you've got the weather understanding set, you know exactly what's going to be happening when you get out to that beach. The next part of that is figuring out exactly what you want to target. So why is setting a target species important, you ask? Because before you even leave the house, you want to have your rig set up. So you want to know exactly what gear you need to take. And you also want to be planned and prepared when it comes to what bait you're going to need, how you're going to catch bait if you're wanting to use fresh bait. And I tell you what, all of those things, as we get further into this video, you're going to get a better understanding of why they are so important. There's some more tips to come, but before we get into these next tips, check out a few videos.
So we've just caught a livey, and we're about to send them out on the slide baiting rig. So basically, just through the top there. Taking care not to hit his spine, obviously. And then that there is going to swim out to our sinker that's already been cast out and is hopefully really well lodged in the sand. And the sun's going to come up in about maybe another hour or so. And hopefully with that something decent will come along and have a go at this. Stay tuned. Slide bait family, right there. That there is a snapper that's taken a live kahawai. Put the kahawai out at night and just before the sun came up, this bad boy started having a go at it. Now sadly he swallowed that right down. So we're going to take him home. We're going to cook them up, but that is a beautiful snapper right there, and that one won't go to waste.
Right, so the next part of the video is what are you going to need. So we're going to cover off first and foremost the gear, and then we're going to get into a little bit of the bait side of things as well, okay? So first up, gear. I get asked all the time on our YouTube videos what bait I use, what rod that is, what reel is that, what line am I using, what hooks, what swivels, what sinkers, all of those sorts of things, and they're very, very valid questions. In this video, what I'm going to do is narrow it down so that you can get yourself set. If you're first time fisherman, if you've been fishing for a while, haven't had too much success and just want to take it to that next step. So rods and reels. Now, I like to have a rod that's around that 14 foot sort of size, and I tell you what, I know people that like 16 foot, 15, all sorts of different sizes, but 14 foot for me just means you're going to get some good distance out when you need it, and I tell you what, that can make all the difference when you're out there surf casting. So 14 sort of foot rod is going to get you into the business, and then as your budget increases, obviously you can start to look at things like the nanotech sort of rods, and they give you a little bit of stiffness in the tip to get a bit more distance, but all of those sorts of things start coming in as you start fine-tuning the type of fishing that you're doing. So I want to keep it quite vague, but enough detail that you're going to be able to get out there and get into some fishing, all right? Okay, so now moving on to tackle. You're going to want some hooks, line, obviously your trace, and that's going to change as you start to specifically target the fish that you're after. You're going to want sinkers. I do really recommend the breakaway sinkers or the sand grabbers. They're really good sinker, especially if you're fishing somewhere where there's a little bit of current moving and you want your bait to stay in place. Okay, so breakout sinkers are awesome. Just another tip, if you're getting out to that beach and you want to have a few more bait options, taking things like a sabiki. I know people who take cast nets out purely to catch bait when they are fishing from the beach, and that's a really great option, especially when you've been fishing for a little while, the bait that you're using is not getting any attention and you want to change it up. Right, so that's a basic breakdown of what you want in your tackle box when surf fishing. Now rigs, I'll cover off 3 rigs that I love to take when I'm out there surf casting. One is the pulley rig. Some people call it the long cast rig. It has many names, but that is a really great rig to take along with you. Ledger rig, that's another, or dropper rig as some people call it. That can be a really effective way to fish in the shallower water, or if you find a hole really close in. And what it gives you the option of being able to do is fishing 2 different types of bait. Okay, and that will then mean you can change up what you're using on the other rods. So those 2 are really great foundational sorts of rigs to take along. Another real simple one, sinker with a trace coming off that there will get you into the game. Okay, so these are again some real simple rigs to get you started out there, and this may be completely new to a lot of you out there, but I love taking a slide baiting rig when I'm surf casting. Now why the slide baiting rig is so valuable and why I love to take it when I'm out there surf casting is because of the fact that it means I can get a live bait out there where I'm fishing as well. So sometimes the bait is going really well, and that's what's catching all of the fish, but sometimes you want to have that option out there as well to be able to catch that slightly bigger predator fish, let's just say, that's out there. And doing the slide baiting method is definitely a way to get you in the running for those bigger fish. Check out those 3 methods, look through a few of our other videos as well, and they will definitely break down how to go about doing those fishing methods. Here's a link above for the slide baiting rig, how to make it. So going back to gear again, some of the gear that you might want to take with you. I've talked about the rod, having a reel. Now, everybody I find has got a different style of reel that they like to use. High spool reels just will mean you're going to get a bit of support with the distance that you're casting, and some days distance is king. Having reels with a lot of line capacity can be another way to go. People use shock leaders so that they can put thinner line on their rod and reel, so that the part that they're casting with is going to be a little bit thicker, absorbs a bit of the shock from casting. But then when you're out there, because you're on the sand, you don't have as much risk of being busted off and all of those sorts of things. So shock leaders can really help. And basically what a shock leader is, back-to-back uni tied onto your main line with a really thin main line. And I do recommend looking into some of the surf casting. But get yourself out there and in amongst it. Use these different methods. Sometimes you're going to find the one that's working. Don't be afraid to cut off one of the other ones and change it for what is working out there and continue to fish in that way. Pulley rigs, if you are to just choose one, I would say take a pulley rig with you or a long cast rig. They are definitely one of my favorite ways to fish for things like snapper, kahawai, trevally from the beach. So yeah, definitely take one of those along with you. Right, so bait. Okay, now this is where it starts to get a little bit interesting, because depending where you fish, depending how you fish, bait can be something that is really helpful. Okay, now I love to go into the local tackle store before I'm heading out fishing and just check in, hey, what's been going on out there? Sometimes they'll give you the full detail, sometimes they don't know too much of what's going on, but just something like the mullet are running, or something like there are a heap of kahawai out there, for me tells me what's going on, and it also means I can quickly make an adjustment in my mind before we get to the beach of how I'm going to fish it. So something like there's a lot of kahawai out there, so for me I'm going to change up what I'm fishing with predominantly to catch that species. All right, so that's just a little tip there. If you've set your plan and you get out there and the local knowledge is telling you something else is going on, then just slightly change your plan. We've gone out to do night fishing, for example, from the beach, and I've been told that the crabs are in soft shell season. So guess what I do? I will then change up the bait that I'm using. So I'm not going to go out there and fish with a dirty great big bonito or whatever the case may be. I'm going to go then and try and get some of these crabs, because chances are the fish are going to be in shallow, and if they're not eating my baits, I'm going to have some crabs to cast out to them as well. So yeah, local knowledge will not only help you suppose add something to what you're doing when you're out there fishing, it'll also mean you can fine-tune what you're doing and hopefully catch that big boy while you're out there. You know, when it comes to bait, you want to have different options. I know you want to keep it cost effective, so frozen bait from your last trip, keep that there with you. Then using live bait, so when you get to the beach, throwing a sabiki out, if you can take a burley with you, just keep that burley next to the rod holder, and you'll be surprised how shallow those little bait fish will come into your feet, and you'll be able to use those as bait as well. And you know, a bait that's caught local to that spot is usually something that's going to get some good attention from something that's of good size as well. So fresh bait, beautiful. And again, using live bait just means that you've got different options in front of you.
Awesome. So what we're doing now is we found a hole. The current is slightly pushing to the right of the beach. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk down to the left, so that hopefully by the time I get down to my rod holder, we're going to have the bait sitting out right in front of us. And I'll tell you what, I am hanging out. Stay tuned.
Right, so now we're going to talk about how to approach a beach. Now, you've done all the planning, you've got all your bait set, everything's good to go, you're excited, and you're ready to get out there. And now it's about how you approach the beach when you get there. But before we do, if you've enjoyed this video so far, if you've learned something from this, you want to see more of it, smash the thumbs up and share this video. And I tell you what, we're going to be working hard to create a heck of a lot more videos just like this one. And every Friday, 6 o'clock, we're going to be posting them out for you. Right, so how to approach a beach. Now, when I'm talking about how to approach a beach, I'm talking about being able to read it. I'm talking about knowing where in a beach to fish. For example, if you get to a beach and you've got a day that is crystal clear, there's no wind, it is flat as a pancake out there, and you just can't read it, the first thing that you want to do is go where you know there is going to be some type of reef or some type of food. When I'm talking about how to approach a beach, what I'm really saying is, what you're looking for, how to read a beach, some of the things to really start studying up on. And there are a ton of videos on YouTube that you can look at, on Facebook, about how to read a beach. Now, you're looking for things like guts, holes, sandbars. All of those things are going to mean that you're fishing where the big fish patrol. All right, just to break that down, you're looking for areas where there's a current that's pushing through. What that does, exposes the fish, exposes the food, exposes the crabs, and all of that is literally where the bigger fish hang around. So always remember this: when you're out there fishing, big fish hang around food. Okay, doesn't matter what the fish is, they are not too far away from their food supply. So when you're fishing, always think, is there food in front of me? If you're not sure, don't be afraid to move 10, 15 meters down the beach. All right, as you're fishing, move a little bit further down. You know, if you're not getting any hits on your bait, don't stay there and continue to fish. Move down the beach. It just could mean you find that next honey spot. Beaches are always changing, so again, don't get too comfortable and, man, this spot worked for me last time, why isn't it working this time? Chances are there's been a huge storm or something's ripped through that beach that has meant the bottom has changed a little bit for you, and so what was successful is no longer visible to the fish or has been covered by sand, and now means you've got to look for somewhere else. So again, don't get stuck in old habits, change up what you're doing, fish what's in front of you, and stay effective. So a few places I like to fish when I'm reading a beach or approaching a beach are river mouths. Plenty of food will come in and out of those river mouths, and I find the bigger fish are constantly checking out those areas. So learn the tides, learn in those different areas what seems to work best and when the bait fish or the big fish seem to come through. Because I tell you what, once you start to unlock some of those things in your local posies, the fishing will become a lot easier. So, you know, river mouths can be a great place to start your surf casting fishing. Sandbars, looking for sandbars, looking for things like holes or guts. And guts are pretty much like a trench in the ocean. You'll find those by rough water either side and some kind of calm, darker looking water. If you can find a patch of that and you can get your bait in there, chances are you're going to be starting to find a few fish. And that's literally, again, because the water's been stirred up in there. It's got a little bit more current pushing through, and that means everything on the bottom is exposed. Your crabs, your bait fish, your worms in some cases, things, the shellfish, all sorts, just gets exposed to those predatory fish. They come through, they can get a feed, they know where their hole is or their gut is, and you putting your bait in there is just the winning recipe. So look for those things, learn how to identify them, learn how to spot them. And I tell you what, when we're next out surf casting, these are some of the things we're going to focus on filming. So if you haven't subscribed already, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for a heck of a lot more videos that will explain these things in a whole other way. So today, again, we're covering some of the basics, but I really want to make sure that over this journey we help you get out there and put some food on the table, basically. If you watch some of our surf casting videos in the past, you'll notice that I like to fish next to a headland or rocks on the side of a beach. I'll normally set myself up on the beach next to those, and that's again simply because I know where those rocks are. There's going to be food, there are going to be the bait fish congregating, there's going to be crabs, there's going to be mussels, there's going to be all of those sorts of things. And for me, those are all the things that add up to big fish being not too far away. When you can add things like burley, when you can add multiple different types of bait in your setups, that's just going to mean that you're fine-tuning and narrowing down being able to catch that big fish. So yeah, headlands are a great place to start if you don't quite know how to read a beach. And headlands, again, what that is, just to break that right down and make it simple, fishing on a beach right next to some rocks that you know have seaweed, all sorts of crustaceans, shellfish and bait fish. That is a great place to start. Monos that are out there, but back-to-back unique, connecting those two up. Two lengths of the rod, your preferences obviously in that, and there are some more specialized videos on distance casting, so check those out as well. But you know, shock leader to your rig and you're good to go. Now the reel I use in particular, my go-to surf casting set is a nanotech rod. And that just gives me a good amount of strength in the rod, enough flex to support with the fighting of the fish, but enough stiffness that I can get a good cast out of it. And the reel that I'm using is the Finlaw Offshore A500. Now a lot of people say, oh, the reel's spool isn't high enough and it doesn't allow for line clearance. I found the complete opposite. And so, hey, you're going to have to find what's comfortable for you. But for me personally, I love using the offshore reels. I know people are going to think it's because I'm sponsored by them. But the thing you have to understand is I approached them because I wanted to be sponsored by them because of this reel. Okay, so yeah, find a reel that you know. Check out with your local tackle store. Talk to them about what the best sort of setup is going to be for the fish that you're targeting, and they can be hugely helpful in helping you set up the rod and reel. But 14-foot rod is definitely a great place to start, and then you can start to fine-tune it from there. Another setup that you may want to take along with you, soft baiting rod and reel. Now, why take a soft baiting rod and reel when you're surf casting? Often here in New Zealand, things like the kahawai, I think some other countries call them sea trouts, whatever they call them. Some of your more local sort of fish, having a soft bait out in the water or even using that same setup for a spinner can mean you catch fresh bait or kahawai for the table or for the smoker later on, but it also can mean that you can use that for your bait setup, all sorts of different things. So having a soft bait set with you can also give you not only another option to catching fish, but it just means you've got a little bit of versatility and splashing taking place out in front of you. You've got something you quickly grab and flick out there and bring it in, you know. So having those sorts of things on hand. I'll take 5 rods to the beach with me. Chances are I'm only going to use 3 of those to fish. 2 of them are set up and ready just in case something awesome happens in front of me. And I'll tell you what, the amount of times that we've caught something simply because those 2 rods were there with us as an option has meant a world of difference. So you know, don't be afraid to take that along with you. I know guys that stick bait from the shore and they have huge success, so taking a top water setup won't go amiss as well. It is completely up to you. As I say, target species will fine tune and will give you a bit more understanding on what it is you're targeting, and from there you're going to be able to get a lot more effective in bringing those fish to the shore. Now you've done all that work, you've got everything set up. Just a few more things when you're fighting a fish. The real key, or something to always keep in the back of your mind, is keeping your line tight, especially once you start to get to the rough water. You'll notice in a lot of our videos, or guys that you may follow watching their videos, when they're starting to get the fish closer to shore or closer to their feet, they'll start walking backwards, and that's literally because if a fish swims into you, you want to be able to quickly tighten that line and keep it tight. Also, you want to be watching when it's coming through the waves the best that you can, so that you can work with the waves, not against the waves. The amount of times I've seen good snapper or good fish lost at a person's feet because they weren't paying attention is phenomenal. So, you know, again, when you're fighting the fish, remember, a good bend on the rod is not something to be too afraid of. Don't be too eager like me and snap your rods by high sticking or point loading though. But you know, keeping your rod nice and firm and keeping that line tight is definitely something you want to make sure that you're doing as you start fine-tuning those different fish that you're targeting. When I'm fishing for trevally, I'll use a smaller hook, shellfish sort of thing for bait. I'll also make sure that my trace is a lot thinner, 30-pound trace, fluorocarbon, and what that means is when I'm out there fishing, I'm fishing to what the fish is going to need me to be using. Okay, so trevally have really good eyesight. The minute they see your line, they're not going to touch your bait, hence the lighter line and the fluorocarbon. So all of these little things will mean along your journey you're going to be able to fine tune and start becoming a lot more effective when you're out there. If there's something that's still a grey spot for you, or if we've left a few gaps, comment below and I'll definitely do my best to get back to you. If you've enjoyed this video, smash that thumbs up, share it out, subscribe, because there's going to be a heck of a lot more of these videos coming out as well. And hey, thank you for tuning in. To all of our supporters, our sponsors, those that are regulars on this channel, thank you for your support. Without you fellas, I wouldn't be able to do the things that I love the way that I can. And look, I don't get paid to do this. This is something I do as a labor of love, and I tell you what, you guys make it all worth it. Cutting up this footage, putting these videos together is my way of saying thank you to you guys for all the support. Those that comment, those that share, those that hit the thumbs up, thank you, thank you, thank you. Stay safe out there. Yeah, and we'll see you again soon with more outdoor adventures with Case.